Max pulled the covers over himself and turned off his lamp, plunging his room into darkness. He slowly closed his eyes as the rain continued to lightly tap against the window. His slumber was abruptly interrupted by a tapping sound. It was different from the rain. It was heavier and louder. He sat up in his bed and looked out the window. It was too dark to make anything out from where he was sitting. He slowly reached down under his bed and groped around for his flashlight. He felt his finger brush over it and quickly grasped it in his hand. He could still hear the tapping at the window. The floorboards creaked as Max slowly got out of his bed and walked towards the window. There were yellow eyes staring at him through the window. Max gasped and fell backwards, dropping his flashlight. The eyes stared at him. He would have thought it was the eyes of a cat if he wasn't able to faintly see the face of a human. He quickly reached down and grabbed his still glowing flashlight and pointed it at the window. The glowing yellow eyes disappeared as the flashlight's beam washed over them, and they were replaced by eyes of bright blue. Its face was revealed to Max. His fear raised even further. There was messy blue hair sticking out from his black hoodie, covering part of his face. It looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. Will looked down and see its finger tapping on the window. It was at least 1 meter long. It looked sharp enough that I could stab you. Will looked up again and saw it smile. It stretched across his entire face and looked as if it went any further, its skin would rip. Its teeth were crooked and sharp. Some were even covered in blood. Who are you? Max asked, trembling in fear. The figure at the window continued to stare at Max, its entire body perfectly still, except for his finger that continued to tap at the window. Max continued to look at the figure, not daring to look away. Max heard his bedroom door open and quickly turned to see his mother at his door. What's all the noise in here? Why are you walking around at this time, Max? She asked, rubbing her eyes. Mom, there was a man at the window, Max said, pointing at the window. He looked and saw that there was no figure. It had disappeared. His mother walked towards the window and looked out, making sure that there was nothing there. There's nothing out there, Max. It was probably just a cat or something. Just go back to sleep, his mother said tiredly. His mind raced and tried to figure out a logical answer to what just happened. He stood there for a moment before nodding and walking back over to his bed. Good night, Mom, Max said. Good night, sweetie, she replied. Max pulled the covers over himself once again and turned on his lamp. Too scared to sleep in the darkness. I must be losing my mind, Max said to himself, unsure how to cope with that which just happened. His heart slowly starting to slow down, his eyes slowly closing. His slumber was once again interrupted by a noise. Not from a sound of tapping, but creaking. He quickly sat up and saw his closet slowly creak open. His face peered out of the closet, staring at him. It was the yellow eyes. They had returned. Its smile was even wider than before, its skin slightly tearing at the corner of his mouth. It stood there for a while, sticking its head out of the closet and staring at Will. He could barely move, paralyzed in fear. They continued to stare at each other until slowly it stepped out of the closet and approached Max. Thank you for listening and watching my first horror story on my YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next video.